Now that I've been spending a whole lot of time at home these days, I've been spending more time with our cat. And I've noticed a couple of things that I feel are just important to share with you. It seems like in times like these, we need to talk about our cats. Chestnut, by the way, is a sweetheart, and so this is all said with love. So the first thing is I've noticed that it's like even our cat has been stress eating these days. I mean, she's really filling out. And the second thing about Chestnut, bless her heart, is that she still sometimes spooks at her own shadow. It happens less than when she was a kitten, but it still can happen, especially when she's gotten really worked up and is on edge, and she turns around and boo, there's that shadow, and she's springing back like the devil's on her tail. So it's gotten me wondering how much a lot of us can relate to Chestnut these days. We're all stuck at home more, and we may be more often worked up and on edge because of the stress that's in the air, and the grief, and the fear, and uncertainty, and juggling work and childcare for some, or dealing with unemployment for others, and not to mention illness and fear of illness and distressing news, and all with more isolation. A lot of us are having to face our shadows more, whether we're facing that fact or not, An elder colleague of mine recently said that in their experience, whenever there's been a large group trauma, you can expect that whatever your issue is, whatever your personal challenge, the thorn in your side, as the Apostle Paul put it, it's likely that the volume is going to get turned up on that. And so we're all just needing a lot more grace for ourselves and for each other, and we're needing especially to be spending regular time basking in the source of that grace, which is God. We need God's help to face and embrace our shadows with grace. Now, I'm using this image of the shadow, and I like this image because this is about the parts of ourselves that we'd rather not look at. Those parts of ourselves that we may want to pretend aren't there, whether it's because of shame or guilt or pride or distaste, or our own judgment or other people's judgment, whatever. But however much we may look the other way and wish that this stuff about us isn't there, however much we try to keep it off camera and put makeup on it, it's with us. It's part of ourselves. It goes wherever we go. It's trailing behind us like our shadows. And if we catch sight of it, all of a sudden, it can really give us a scare, right? Or it can make us mad and ready to attack or defend. Think of a cat spooking at her shadow. Her claws are out. And oftentimes we catch sight of our shadow because we see somebody else seeing it in us. You know the experience I'm talking about? It can be really uncomfortable when you realize that someone is seeing part of yourself that you wish wasn't there. Our weaknesses, or our meanness, or what have you. And oftentimes it's the people closest to us who see our shadows clearest, or people we've hurt because of our blind spots, or because we meant to hurt them in the moment. And it can also sometimes be our enemies who see our shadows clearest, and now that can really drive us nuts. So what do we do when we see someone seeing what we don't like about ourselves? We could claw their eyes out, or we could run away if flight is more your style than fight. Either way, our reaction tends to be to try to get rid of that mirror that's reflecting our shadow. So we can go to great lengths to avoid seeing our shadow, and we can get really clever about it, or really mean, or really intoxicated, or if you're a cat kind of person, really into eating cat food. I mean, even just hearing me talk about this may be making you uncomfortable, because it's calling your awareness to something that may be hard to admit about yourself. And you may be tempted to turn this video off or to go at me for spouting a bunch of mumbo jumbo. But whatever it is that we do to avoid facing our shadow, an important question is why? What are we defending against? And what are we attacking exactly? Who is it, what is it that we're actually defending or trying to defend? And why can it feel so unbearable to face the shadows of ourselves? So Jesus, in what he taught and what he embodied, was all about radical honesty with ourselves and before God, about facing and embracing our shadows with grace, facing our shadows and allowing God to embrace us, shadows and all. And this has everything to do with what Jesus was revealing about who it is we truly are and about who God truly is. We are simply and humbly and exquisitely children of a living and loving God who is present with us, who is among us, who is beyond us in a clear and a powerful way. And if only we get out of the way and allow God to embrace all of us and not just our Sunday best. The problem we make for ourselves is that we make ourselves out to be different than we actually are. We construct a false sense of self out of how we compare ourselves to others, make judgments, tell these stories about ourselves that often involve competition, envy, rivalry, judgment, where we end up convinced that we're either better than others or convinced that we're worse than others. And either way, we are pushing parts of ourselves into the shadows. And we are acting out of a deep fear that simply, honestly, who we are is not good enough. It's not worthy of love. And this is why Jesus said, "Judge not, lest ye be judged." This is why Jesus was calling out religious hypocrisy that's obsessed with other people's sins while denying our own, hating in other people what was actually true about ourselves. Jesus was undercutting these kind of false constructions of self, these false stories that we tell about ourselves that keep us from our deepest souls and our deepest relationship with God. This is why Jesus drew out the poison of hate and fear that rose up to crucify him. This is a tremendous, monstrous shadow of our humanity that came to bear to crucify him. And revealing the lengths that humanity can go to deny the simple goodness and vulnerability and strength and love at the heart of each of us, which Jesus himself embodied. And this is what Jesus was teaching in the story of the prodigal son, taking that risk to turn from our petty obsessions and our fears and to return as we are to the welcoming embrace of our Creator. This is what Jesus taught his disciples in the Gospel of Thomas, the readings that we heard earlier. When you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. But if you do not find what is within you, it will destroy you. And when you strip naked without being ashamed, and take up your clothes and put them under your feet like little children, and trample on them, then you will see the child of the living one, and you will not be afraid. And so I pray for each of you, for all of us, that these challenging times when we become more aware, if we're totally honest with ourselves about those shadows in our own personalities, that we are able to bring them in a humble and a full kind of way to God, and allow God to embrace us as we are, in our fears, in our pettiness, in our anger, in just our simply not knowing and being uncertain. Because even the dark is not dark in God's luminous embrace, as we hear in Psalm 139. The night is not darkness to you. The night is as bright as the day, for darkness is as light to you. For it is you, O God, who formed our inward parts. You knit us together in our mother's wombs. And so we praise you, O God, for we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, and that we know very well. And so for all of this, and for each of you, and the journeys that you are on in growing in wisdom and in growing through difficulty and struggle and glorious possibility into who it is that God has created you to be, I give the deepest thanks.